Hwan rushes forward, carrying his lord on his back. His group follows closely behind, moving as fast as they can. In his mind, he knows the enemy is near. He keeps running, determined to escape. Then, he calls out to Chugang, one of his men. Without wasting time, he places the lord down and tells Chugang to carry him instead. He instructs the others to escort them to safety. However, Chugang refuses, saying it would be better for them to stay behind and block the enemy while the leader escapes. Our guy, knowing they won't last long against the enemy, insists they leave immediately. He orders them to take the lord and escape no matter what happens. As he pulls out his sword, the others have no choice but to follow his command. While leaving, they shout back, hoping he survives. Some warn him that if they die, they will resent him. Chugang, now carrying the lord, urges the others to hurry. They all flee, leaving their leader behind. As he stands alone, our guy realizes something is wrong. The lord's mission was highly secret, known only to a select few. Even those involved did not know the exact path of their journey, yet the enemy has appeared as if they were expecting them. This can only mean one thing: someone has leaked information. Before he can think further, the enemy arrives. Filled with rage, he declares that no one will pass unless they step over his dead body. The battle begins. His enemies recognize him and warn each other to be careful, calling him the Nine Dragons Prince. They quickly realize how strong he is, struggling to land a hit. Then, two new opponents step forward. The others immediately move aside, making way for them. Our guy recognizes them instantly, the Gwanghwan twins. Seeing them here means the situation is even worse than he thought. One of them taunts him, saying that now that he knows who they are, he should accept his fate. The other one wastes no time and attacks, telling him to just give up. A fierce fight breaks out. Our guy manages to wound them, but he takes a hit as well. His shoulder throbs with pain, but he pushes through. For now, the twins are the priority. However, they are just as shocked as he is. They did not expect someone his age to control chi energy so well. Suddenly, a massive attack is launched toward him. He quickly moves back, barely avoiding it. When he looks up, he is stunned. Before him stands the demon god of world chaos, one of the 4 demon lords of the cult. The old man laughs, amazed that someone so young was able to block his attack. Our guy can hardly believe it. This is far worse than he imagined. The demon lord seems amused, but he has no patience for games. He declares that our guy is annoying and should just accept his fate. At this moment, the young warrior knows he is facing death itself. But instead of fear, a final thought crosses his mind. If he is going to die, he might as well get some answers first. He boldly points out that life is uncertain, and answering a single question for a dying person shouldn't be difficult. His opponent, initially skeptical, realizes the young warrior is trying to outmaneuver him even in this situation. However, he agrees to answer just one question. Without hesitation, our guy asks how they knew about their route. The old man reveals that someone from their side informed them, but he has no idea who it was. Realizing the truth, our guy wastes no time and prepares to fight. Since his question has been answered, he offers to show an incredible technique in return. However, his opponent scoffs, surprised that someone so young is among what he calls hypocrites. If he had known earlier, he would have tried to bring him to their side. Our guy, unimpressed, rejects the idea outright. Why would he ever join the demonic cult? His opponent, however, insists that it is not a choice he can make on his own. Before our guy can react, the man launches an attack, overwhelming him in an instant. With one powerful strike, our guy is knocked unconscious. Despite the victory, the old man is shocked. This young warrior managed to leave a scar on his body, a rare occurrence. As he picks up the unconscious our guy and throws him over his shoulder, he voices his disbelief. If he had a body like this, things would be different. Without wasting time, he instructs his followers to chase after Baek Lee-hoo while he leaves first. Then, with a swift movement, the demon lord of chaos vanishes into the night, carrying our guy away. 5 days later, deep in the mountains of Gyeonggi province, the demon lord finally reaches his destination. He drops our guy on the ground in front of the commander of the demonic cult, who looks at the unconscious warrior in confusion. Who is this, and why has he been brought here? The demon lord, unfazed, gets straight to the point. He asks if his soul can be transferred into this young warrior's body using the Iryong method. The commander, taken aback, reminds him that the Iryong method is a dark art meant for soul transfer. But the demon lord doesn't care. He has already been told that he only has 2 or 3 years left to live. However, after our guy's sword strike, his time has been cut even shorter. He doesn't believe he will last a year. In his mind, this body might be the perfect vessel for his soul. So, will the commander do it or not? Faced with this request, the commander hesitates. But seeing the condition of the demon lord, he ultimately agrees. If his body truly can't hold out any longer, they might as well give it a try. With that, the preparations begin. For an entire day, the cult works to set up the Bikwon chamber, the place where the ritual will take place. Finally, the demon lord and our guy are placed inside, and the Iryong method is performed. Days pass, and on August 8th, the commander walks toward the chamber, expecting results. By now, the process should be complete, and the new body should awaken. But something is wrong. There is no movement, no sign of life. Worried, the commander mutters to himself. Why hasn't the process worked? It should be time by now. Unable to wait any longer, he opens the chamber. The moment he does, he freezes in shock. The chamber is empty. Meanwhile, in an entirely different location, our guy suddenly opens his eyes. He finds himself lying on a bed, his mind clouded with confusion. He sits up, looking around at the unfamiliar surroundings. Where is he? What is going on? Is this all just a dream? Inside the house, Baek Lee who looks at our guy's father and asks how he has been. The older man sighs and replies that things have been the same. Without hesitation, Baek Lee who suggests that he should dust himself off and get back on his feet, but the response is firm. With his arms folded, our guy's father refuses, saying that it is not something he can just shake off. However, Baek Lee who reminds him that he should consider Wang, but instead of an answer, he gets an unexpected suggestion. Our guy's father suddenly tells him to take Wang with him. Confused, Baek Lee who repeats the suggestion, but the older man insists, complaining that the boy has been a massive headache. Curious, Baek Lee who asks what he means, and with a tired expression, Wang's father explains that the boy has been causing trouble every single day. With a hand on his head, he adds that he has lost so much because of him. At this moment, Baek Lee who takes a sip of his drink before casually commenting that it seems like Wang takes after him. Immediately, Wang's father protests, asking when he has ever caused trouble. Before the conversation can continue, a loud noise interrupts them. One of the servants rushes in, looking alarmed as he announces that young Master Wang has climbed the ginkgo tree again. Without wasting a second, Wang's father jumps to his feet, frustration clear on his face. He swears under his breath before hurrying outside, and the others quickly follow. Once outside, they see our guy high up in the tree. His father calls out to him, demanding that he comes down at once. However, the boy refuses, saying that lightning is about to strike. Hearing this, his father insists that this is exactly why he should climb down, but our guy doesn't listen. Instead, he raises his sword towards the sky, reminding his father that he once said lightning was needed to master the Thunder Spirit Sword technique. However, Wang's father dismisses it as nonsense. Baek Lee who watches from behind, stroking his beard in thought. The Thunder Spirit Sword technique was once one of the 10 greatest techniques in the world, the ultimate secret of the Lee family, yet no descendant has been able to master it for over 100 years, causing the family's decline. Now, this boy is climbing a tree, hoping to be struck by lightning to awaken it. Is it just reckless behavior, or is there something more? Thunder rumbles in the sky, and Wang's father continues shouting at his son to come down. However, the boy remains excited, saying that he just needs to be struck once before he climbs down. As if the heavens are listening, the sky flashes brighter, and just when it seems like the worst is about to happen, Baek Lee-hoo makes his move. He jumps up, grabs the boy, and leaps back down just in time. A moment later, lightning crashes onto the tree, splitting it apart. The second they land, Wang's father and the servants rush over, shouting the boy's name in concern. The servants call him young master as they check if he is unharmed. Meanwhile, the boy stares at Baek Lee-hoo in amazement, asking who he is. With a small smile, Baek Lee-hoo simply tells him that he is a friend of his father's. However, Wang's father is not amused. He scolds his son, reminding him that he could have been struck. Yet, instead of looking scared, the boy turns to Baek Lee-hoo, eager to know what he plans to do next. The two stand face to face as Baek Lee-hoo listens to the younger man's question. It turns out that because of him, our guy missed out on gaining the power of lightning. And in the world of martial arts, if someone disrupts another's path, they must make up for it. This is exactly what our guy demands. At first, Baek Lee-hoo seems amused. He points to himself, confirming that he's being asked to compensate for blocking the younger man's chance at power. When he gets a quick response, he strokes his beard, smiles, and leans forward. Then, in an unexpected turn, he declares that he will take him as his disciple. However, our guy isn't impressed. He refuses immediately, making it clear that unless the one offering is among the world's top 10 swordsmen, he has no interest in becoming anyone's disciple. And this is when everything shifts. His father, standing nearby, suddenly pushes him forward, urging him to take the offer. Not only that, but the man keeps repeating the same thing, Baek Lee-hoo's name. Confused, our guy questions what's going on. That's when he hears it. The man standing in front of him isn't just anyone. He is Baek Lee-hoo, the Wuling Alliance leader, the martial emperor, the strongest of them all. Our guy can hardly believe it. After all, he remembers the stories his father told about the alliance leader, arrogant, haughty, spiteful, and, according to him, quite ugly. But the man standing before him is the complete opposite. Naturally, Baek Lee-hoo wants to know just how much nonsense was said about him. His father, however, tries to brush it off, claiming it wasn't much. Yet, he quickly changes the topic, reminding the martial emperor that he saved his life and that Baek Lee-hoo hadn't even visited in 10 years. There's a moment of silence before Baek Lee-hoo admits that he does feel a little guilty about that. Still, the matter at hand remains. Our guy's father places a hand on his son's head, asking again if Baek Lee-hoo will take him. A slow smile spreads across the martial emperor's face. Unlike the man in front of him, he doesn't run from responsibility. This statement causes a reaction, and the father quickly questions what he did wrong. That's when Baek Lee-hoo reminds him of his own words, he promised to live well and be happy when Yeon took the boy. After hearing this, our guy's father says nothing more. Time passes, and an hour later, the moment of farewell arrives. Our guy stands in front of his father, offering advice, telling him not to starve just because he's gone. In response, his father simply tells him to worry about himself. After all, he has no idea just how intense Baek Lee-hoo's training is. The younger man, however, stands firm. If he is to learn the ways of the Wuling Alliance leader, he must be prepared for whatever comes his way. His father acknowledges his resolve but advises him to take care. In return, our guy reminds him not to drink too much. Surprisingly, his father claims he's quitting. Of course, that's hard to believe. The younger man calls out the lie immediately. Yet, his father insists he's serious. Even in the middle of their bickering, the farewell continues, and with that, our guy sets off for the Wuling Alliance alongside Baek Lee-hoo. As he walks away, something lingers in his mind. His gaze shifts back, looking at the man he's leaving behind. There's something he hasn't said, something he's kept hidden. In his thoughts, he apologizes for not telling the truth. It all started when he woke up that morning, convinced he was dreaming. The first thing he did was approach his father, talking as if he were already in the afterlife. Naturally, his father was stunned. And in the next second, a firm hit landed on his head. Pain shot through, and in that instant, the realization struck. If this were truly a dream, why did it hurt? That's when he turned to Grandpa Kang, looking for answers. The old man, ever so amused, lifted his stick, suggesting that maybe another smack would help wake him up. But there was no need for that. Everything had already started to sink in. That was when he truly noticed it. His father was alive, and their home was just as it used to be. Even the ginkgo tree, which had been half destroyed by lightning, was still there, standing tall just like it had 10 years ago. If this wasn't a dream, if he had really gone back in time, then there was one thing he knew for sure: Baek Lee-hoo would come, just like he did that day when lightning struck and the downpour began. And sure enough, he did. If fate had given him another chance, then this time, he wouldn't just stand by and take it. 100 years ago, the righteous factions of the martial world came together to form an organization meant to stop the demon cult and other evil sects. This organization became known as the Murim Alliance. It brought together the 9 great schools, the 5 noble clans, and around 100 righteous sects, including the 10 schools. The alliance leader served a 10-year term, chosen by the Council of 50 Elders. Traditionally, leadership alternated between the 9 great schools and the 5 noble clans. However, due to the tension between these two powerful groups, an unexpected person rose to power as the 12th alliance leader, Emperor Wu Bailey-shi. He was one of the 3 supreme swordsmen of the world and the eldest grandson of the head of the Kianui school, which was part of the 10 schools. His rise to leadership marked a turning point, shifting the calm undercurrents within the Murim Alliance into a raging storm. Now, the focus shifts to our guy, who stands beside Baek Lee-hoo. The older man introduces him, saying he is his 4th disciple and asking the others to take good care of him. The young boy bows, introducing himself as a 15-year-old from the Lee family of Nozen. His calm and respectful manner immediately catches the attention of those around him. The first to respond is Baek Lee-hyuk, who welcomes him warmly, telling him to see him as an older brother. Another disciple, Hyeon-cheng, greets him with a simple acknowledgement. The last of the 3 also offers a friendly welcome, making the atmosphere feel a little lighter. Just as things seem to be settling, a woman in the group looks at the new arrival with curiosity. She recognizes him as the son of hero Yi-woon and remarks that he must know exactly where he is. He responds with another bow, showing respect. Standing behind the woman is a girl who introduces herself as Baek Lee-yeon. She turns her attention to him and asks if he is always this serious. He admits that he is just nervous, but she playfully scolds him, saying a man shouldn't be so timid. Before the teasing goes too far, the woman beside her steps in, suggesting that the boy must be overwhelmed coming to the Murim Alliance after growing up in a small estate. Baek Lee-hoo finally speaks up, gently telling them not to tease the newcomer too much since it is his first day. Our guy, however, remains composed, assuring him that he is fine. The master nods approvingly, silently noting how different the boy is now compared to when he last saw him at the Lee family estate. Deciding that the introductions have gone on long enough, Baek Lee-hoo ends the conversation, instructing Young to show the new disciple to his room. Without hesitation, Young follows the order and leads the way. As our guy follows, his thoughts begin to race. Everything is happening just as he remembers from the past. This means he still has 10 years before a certain event unfolds. For now, he plans to let things progress naturally, avoiding interference unless absolutely necessary. However, if the flow of events starts to change, he is prepared to make exceptions. After settling into his new room, he is greeted by Young, who casually tells him that if he needs anything, he should ask Sai-bai. The room is comfortable, and our guy appreciates it. As he rests, Young becomes curious about his martial arts background, mentioning that he has heard of his family before. Our guy, however, downplays it, saying that he only learned from his father and that it is nothing special. Young, wanting to know more, asks about the warriors in his family. Our guy simply states that there are none, just him, his father, Old Man Kang, and Aunt Lim, the cook. This surprises Young, who then leaves, saying that his older brother will explain the sect's martial arts to him later. After the door closes, our guy reflects on the conversation. He assumes that the 3rd son of the Chejeoman leader might find it amusing that he comes from a family with no warriors. Sometime later, he sits down to meditate. His thoughts drift back to the battle against the Demon Lord, a fight he ultimately lost. As he analyzes his situation, he realizes that after returning to his younger self, his inner energy has also reverted. Unlike before, he cannot afford to waste time. In the past, he relied too much on his talent and lost 2 years, but this time, he is determined to cultivate diligently. As he continues meditating, he notices something different. His inner energy may be the same as before, but its purity has changed. He wonders if this is the beginning of his new life in the Murim Alliance. With that thought, he opens the door and steps outside. Young is already there, casually explaining the structure of the alliance. It consists of 31 organizations and more than 20,000 commoners who rely on its protection. While this information is supposed to impress, our guy already knows all of it. Nonetheless, he responds with polite admiration. Young, clearly excited, laughs and reminds him that he is now the disciple of the great alliance leader. As they continue walking, whispers spread among the people nearby. Some recognize our guy as the son of the Lee family head, but confusion follows as they question where the family is even located. Someone mentions that it is cold and isolated, while another claims that the family is falling apart. Speculations arise about why the alliance leader took him in, with one person saying it must have been because of an old promise. Some even call him lucky for becoming the disciple of such a powerful leader. Our guy overhears all of this, but he keeps his emotions in check. There is no need to get upset over meaningless gossip. However, just as his thoughts settle, a voice suddenly calls out, interrupting him. A person greets another with a cheerful tone, referring to him as Brother Seomun. At that moment, our guy immediately recognizes who he is about to meet. We're introduced to Young as he bows respectfully, greeting Wig Gyeong and mentioning that he is showing his disciple around the Murim Alliance. Wig Gyeong, who is the second son of the Shinjam sect leader, acknowledges him with a neutral expression. However, his attention quickly shifts to our guy. With a look of doubt, he questions why someone like him was chosen as a disciple. It's clear that he doesn't see any potential in the boy, especially since he comes from a ruined family. Our guy, however, remains calm, responding with a light-hearted remark about his brother always being a softie. But Wig Gyeong doesn't let it go. He leans in closer, making sure his words are heard clearly, emphasizing his status within the Shinjam sect. He asks if there's a problem with what he just said, to which our guy replies without hesitation that there isn't. Wig Gyeong takes this as a sign of submission and smugly comments that at least he knows his place. But just when he thinks the conversation is over, our guy continues, pointing out that just because someone is talking nonsense doesn't mean he has to stoop to their level. This immediately catches his attention, and his tone changes as he demands to know what was just said. At this moment, our guy casually turns away, making it seem like he's not even taking the exchange seriously. As he walks past, he leaves one final remark, stating that he was just speaking his mind. Young follows along, but before they can leave, Wig Gyeong's voice cuts through the air, ordering the boy to stop. Instead of reacting the way he expects, our guy simply turns back with a smile and questions if all the people in the Murim Alliance behave this way. Wig Gyeong, clearly irritated, asks what that's supposed to mean. Without hesitation, our guy responds that since it's his first time here, he'll have to ask his master about it because he isn't too fond of people who start conversations with insults. Wig Gyeong scoffs at the comment, assuming that he plans to report him to the alliance leader. He then makes a snide remark about how someone without proper upbringing wouldn't know any better. At this, our guy's eyes widen slightly before he replies in an almost amused tone. He sarcastically wonders if Wig Gyeong considers himself well-mannered, considering how he just insulted a stranger from the start. In response, a tense silence falls between them as a clenched fist becomes visible. Our guy notices it right away and immediately understands what's going through his mind. He knows that the other man is holding back, likely because personal fights within the alliance are punishable. Moreover, he's already not well regarded in his own sect, so he can't afford to cause any trouble. A memory from the past flashes in our guy's mind. In his previous life, he couldn't hold back and had spoken up, which led to Wig Gyeong striking him. Yet, despite everything, he was the one who got scolded. But this time, things are different. He won't just take it lying down anymore. With that thought in mind, he turns away and signals for his senior to leave. Young agrees without hesitation. As they walk away, our guy thinks to himself that his third senior brother will likely be on guard earlier than expected because of how he stood up to Wig Gyeong. Still, despite that, he feels a sense of relief. After all, he finally said what he wanted to say. In the previous scene, we saw our guy receiving a book from his elder senior brother, who immediately brings up the recent argument with Wig Gyeong. Without hesitation, our guy takes the book and dismisses the matter, making it clear that it was nothing serious. However, his senior brother doesn't seem convinced. Instead, he warns him to be mindful of his actions since there are many people waiting for an opportunity to criticize their father. Taking the advice seriously, our guy nods and walks away with the book in hand. Before he gets far, his elder senior brother gives him clear instructions to memorize the mantras and the posture of the martial art techniques in the book. Without any hesitation, he acknowledges the order and promises to practice diligently. But that's not all. The elder senior brother then tells him to stop practicing his family's inner techniques and focus entirely on learning our guy's inner techniques. He explains that using different techniques together is like wearing clothes that don't fit properly, awkward and ineffective. Agreeing with the logic, our guy acknowledges that learning two inner techniques at the same time is risky. To master the Kyanui sect's martial arts, he must dedicate himself to the Kyanui inner technique. However, as he walks away, a thought lingers in his mind. He has no intention of abandoning his family's mental techniques because he knows there is a way to master both at once. Just when it seems like the conversation is over, a voice calls out to him. His second brother is summoning him. Stopping in his tracks, he wonders what this could be about. Among his three senior brothers, the second brother has always been the most difficult to deal with. He has been helpful when it comes to martial arts and overcoming challenges, but when problems arise, his approach is always sharp and direct. Despite this, he walks up to his brother without hesitation. The second brother wastes no time getting to the point. He has heard about the argument with Wig Gyeong and wants to confirm if it's true. Without hesitation, our guy admits that it is. Instead of scolding him, his brother comments on how well he handled it but warns that Wig Gyeong won't let it slide. As if that wasn't enough, he shares something unexpected. He has been watching Wig Gyeong for 3 years. Being from a fallen family himself, he has clashed with him several times, and each time, he had to push himself harder to make sure he wouldn't be looked down on. This revelation catches our guy by surprise. He never heard anything about this in his previous life. We see the second brother speaking about the Murim Alliance, describing it as a place of power where people bow because their master leads it. However, he makes it clear that strength is the only thing that truly matters in the end. With a clenched fist, he advises focusing on training whenever possible. Then, turning around, he says he has said everything he needed to and dismisses our guy. As he prepares to leave, he is called back once more, only to receive unexpected praise. This moment reveals that even the second brother has bottled up emotions, making our guy realize that things are returning to the way they used to be. With the master busy handling alliance matters, the first and third brothers take over training duties. However, their help is not as effective as expected. Still, our guy plays along, maintaining appearances in front of them. But when night falls, he dedicates himself to personal training in the practice hall behind Hwan, making sure to improve on his own. A month passes, and one afternoon, Baek Lee Yun peeks into a room, curious about what our guy is doing. As he calmly sits with a cup in hand, he responds that he is having tea. Without hesitation, she steps inside, excitedly mentioning the Dragon Ascension tournament. She asks if he wants to watch, noting that it is his first time. Now, here's something interesting about this tournament. It is a martial arts competition held every 3 months within the Murim Alliance. With thousands of martial artists present, it's difficult to assess everyone's abilities, except for a few well-known figures. Because of this, the tournament was established to provide fair opportunities for promotion. Naturally, many participate, eager to prove themselves. However, as soon as our guy hears about it, a memory resurfaces. The last time he attended the tournament with Baek Lee Yun, something serious happened. She looks at him once more, bringing up the fact that the second brother is competing. At that moment, he places his cup on the table and asks if she can go with the first and third brothers instead. Unfortunately, she informs him that the first brother won't allow her to go. Now, this puts our guy in a difficult spot. Normally, he would refuse, but he is unsure how she might react. Besides, avoiding the tournament could lead to even bigger problems due to unexpected circumstances. After weighing his options, he stands up and agrees to go. At the Dragon Ascension tournament, the crowd is massive. Baek Lee Yun eagerly pulls our guy along, urging him to move closer for a better view. However, he immediately notices a problem: there are too many people. Despite his concerns, she insists that they need to get closer. Now, here's where things take a familiar turn. Some men in the crowd make remarks about her presence, questioning if it's appropriate for her to watch such fights. At this point, our guy realizes that events are unfolding just like before. Determined to change things, he stops her and suggests watching from their current spot. However, she insists on moving just a little further. As they continue forward, he makes another attempt, choosing a spot on the stairs and suggesting they watch from there. Finally, she agrees, admitting that it's a good spot. However, as our guy observes their surroundings, he realizes something unsettling. Despite his efforts to change the course of events, they've only moved about 5 feet from where they originally stood. With this in mind, he remains on high alert, knowing that anything could happen next. The Dragon Ascension tournament continues, and the crowd is buzzing with anticipation. Many are wondering if any strong fighters will emerge this time. Some are skeptical, but one man in the crowd points out a particular fighter, saying that he seems to be the best. He is from Hwan Muman, a former subordinate of our guy, the 9 Dragon Prince. Just as people begin to take notice, he swiftly wins his match. Without hesitation, he points his knife at his opponent and signals that the fight is over. Our guy and Yun watch from the stands. She reacts with amusement, calling it a great joke. Meanwhile, our guy watches closely, recalling a memory from the past. This was the first time he ever saw the fighter. Later, he had recruited him into the Hojeongdan clan. However, during the leader's secret mission, they had lost him, but now, he thinks to himself that things will be different this time. Just then, the referee's voice echoes through the arena, calling for the next fighters to step forward. 2 men enter the stage, ready to battle. Yun, still holding our guy's hand, eagerly points out that the second brother is about to fight. The crowd immediately starts talking. Some are surprised, questioning if it isn't customary for the leader's disciples to start as squad leaders. Others speculate that he wanted to prove himself based on his own skills. A few suggest that the leader might have allowed this to gain public favor. Some in the audience admire his decision, saying he seems like a good person. However, another voice in the crowd questions it, saying that, while Muji's skills are respected, isn't it strange that someone from the Kianui sect became the leader? The discussion continues, and another agrees, pointing out that among the 3 sects, Kianui is the weakest. Despite that, someone from there had managed to rise to the top. Our guy overhears these conversations, and his thoughts turn to the past. The people speaking now have no idea what really happened. His master had risked everything on a secret mission to defeat the demon cult. If not for a traitor within the alliance who set a trap, things would have been different. But that is a story for another time. Right now, his focus is on protecting Jeongyong. The tension in the arena rises as the match is about to begin. The referee signals the start of the fight, and the second older brother and his opponent waste no time in engaging. The other fighter quickly feels underestimated and prepares to prove himself in this intense battle. In the previous scene, the second older brother skillfully dodges every move and swiftly takes down his opponent. The referee quickly declares his victory, and beside our guy, Yun Chung claps her hands in excitement, celebrating the win. However, as our guy watches, he can't help but think that his brother could have stretched the fight a little longer before finishing it. Meanwhile, the crowd starts murmuring, and suddenly, a voice rises above the chatter, calling out in surprise. Someone recognizes the leader's adorable daughter, and this immediately catches the attention of both Yun and our guy, making them turn around. At that moment, Yun notices two unfamiliar boys and curiously asks who they are. One of them, standing tall, introduces himself as Kyeonjin from the Mount Hua sect, while the other, with a confident smirk, states his name as Wonsang from the Kyeongseong sect. In response, Yun politely tells them her name, Baek Lee Yun. However, the two boys laugh, making it clear that they already know who she is, referring to her as the leader's adorable daughter once again. Just when it seems like a normal conversation, the atmosphere in the crowd changes. A heated argument breaks out, and a voice filled with anger yells, demanding to know if someone dares to challenge them. The sudden tension makes Yun and the others turn their heads. The crowd erupts in chaos as people start pushing and shoving, and a fight breaks out right in the middle of everything. The excitement quickly turns into panic as people run in all directions. In the middle of the commotion, someone stumbles and crashes into Yun, pushing her off balance. Before she can hit the ground, our guy moves swiftly, catching her just in time and shielding her from further harm. Her voice rises above the noise as she calls out to him, and at that moment, more people run past them, knocking into one another. With the chaos spreading, our guy quickly takes action. He steps forward, covering Yun with his own body and taking the impact of the rushing crowd. He urges her to leave immediately, and without hesitation, she begins running, her voice filled with panic as she tries to navigate through the frenzied crowd. Meanwhile, as our guy glances around, his eyes suddenly land on someone familiar, Wig Gyeong. A name immediately forms in his mind as he recognizes the person standing among the crowd. As Yun continues running, she reaches a different part of the area, trying to catch her breath. However, the crowd remains wild, and before she can steady herself, someone accidentally pushes her again, causing her to lose her balance. In that very moment, our guy sees what is happening and instantly reacts, shouting her name as he rushes toward her. Without thinking twice, he leaps forward in an attempt to catch her. His timing is perfect, he manages to grab her just before she crashes to the ground, but the force of the fall sends both of them tumbling. They roll down together, and as if that isn't enough, other people also fall to the ground in the chaos. However, our guy positions himself to shield Yun, taking most of the impact. As the weight of the adults presses down on him, he quickly realizes that he won't be able to handle it in his young body. Thinking fast, he focuses on protecting himself with his inner energy. Eventually, as the leaders who are strapped get involved, people begin moving out of the way, giving them some space. When the commotion finally settles, our guy and Yun remain on the floor, both catching their breath. With exhaustion evident in his voice, he asks if she is okay. She immediately calls out to him, relief washing over her face. At that moment, the second elder brother and the other brother emerge from the crowd, both shouting her name with concern. Without hesitation, she runs straight into one of their arms, seeking comfort. As our guy watches the reunion, a thought lingers in his mind, things are taking a strange turn. A heated argument breaks out when Yun's mother finds out about her daughter's visit to an unexpected place. She slams both hands on the table, her voice rising in anger as she questions our guy's judgment. She cannot understand why he would take a child there. Her frustration fills the room, demanding an explanation. Our guy, feeling the weight of her words, immediately apologizes, his voice low and respectful. However, before the situation escalates further, Yong quickly steps in, trying to defend him. She explains that she was the one who insisted on going, practically begging him to take her. Yet this does not ease her mother's anger. Instead, she directs her frustration back at him, insisting that, regardless of Yong's wishes, he should have known better and stopped her. The room grows tense, but one of the elder brothers steps forward, offering to educate him properly. He urges their mother to remain calm, assuring her that he will personally ensure this does not happen again. She sighs and finally agrees, but her words turn sharp as she makes a comment about his background. She assumes his upbringing must have been lacking, given that he grew up in an uneducated household. The moment is uncomfortable, and our guy cannot help but feel a sting from her words. He wonders why she is being even harsher than before. Previously, when Yong was seriously injured, her father had been present. However, this time, since her injuries are minor, he remains at the martial arts ground. With no need to measure their words in his absence, both the mother and the senior brother speak more freely. To make matters worse, the elder brother issues a strict order. He is to stay at the training hall for the time being and must avoid any further interactions with Yong. Though the decision is final, he respectfully accepts it, keeping his thoughts to himself. However, just as he turns to leave, the older brother calls him back, instructing the others to join him in his room for a private discussion. Once inside, the atmosphere changes. The elder brother does not waste time. He directly asks if our guy has feelings for Yong. For a brief moment, he is caught off guard but quickly covers it with a smile, brushing off the idea. He assures him that she is nothing more than a younger sister to him. However, his senior remains skeptical, watching closely. After a pause, he warns him that he and Yong are not compatible. If their mother ever discovers that he has feelings for her, her reaction will be far worse than today's. He listens carefully and reassures him that there is no need to worry. In any case, he believes that someone like Yong would never look at someone as insecure as him. His words seem to satisfy the elder brother, who finally allows him to leave. As he walks away, his mind is far from calm. His expression hardens, his thoughts contradicting the words he just spoke. He is not willing to let her go this time. When he finally reaches his room, exhaustion washes over him. He falls onto his bed, staring at the ceiling as his thoughts race. Pretending not to know is far more difficult than he imagined. He questions himself, wondering if he truly needs to follow the same path as his past life. Memories flood his mind, making him question everything. Yet, he knows that if things change too much, all the knowledge he once had will become useless. He cannot help but wonder what fate is planning. Why was he sent back? What does heaven intend for him? As these thoughts consume him, night falls. Soon after, Baek Lee-hoo arrives, ready to speak to him. Baek Lee-hoo expresses regret for using his business as an excuse to neglect the young one. The response is simple and respectful, showing no resentment. As our guy takes a sip from the cup, he reflects on his past life, remembering how he used to complain. Now, however, he understands the struggles of his master and those around him. He realizes that the elders of the Kianui sect would never let go of their family's honor, just as a mother would never willingly step down from her place as the wife of the Murim leader. He considers his own struggles, along with those of his master, knowing that hardships are inevitable. Baek Lee-hoo brings up Yun, mentioning that the injuries weren't severe, thanks to our guy. However, instead of taking credit, the young one blames himself for not stopping things sooner. This leads to a question: could he have truly changed Yun's mind? A scratch to the head follows, as he admits that it wouldn't have been easy. Understanding the difficulty, Baek Lee-hoo encourages patience, acknowledging the rumors and challenges, but advising to endure a little longer. Despite everything, the young one remains determined, keeping his emotions hidden beneath the surface. At this moment, our guy retrieves a book from his clothes. He explains that he does not judge people by their status, but by who they are as individuals. Then, he hands over the book, saying it contains insights he has gathered over time. With that, Baek Lee-hoo prepares to leave, mentioning an important message from the Lee family estate. The young one's father has sent word that he is away on business and that there is no need to return home for the holidays. This is unusual. In the past, his father had traveled before, but a message like this was never sent. This deviation from his past life leaves him wondering. However, instead of dwelling on it, he shifts his focus to training. From the next day, he dedicates himself completely to training, moving between the training hall and other practice areas. Holding his sword in front of his face, he notices his body's lack of skill and agility. His movements feel awkward, but he pushes forward. At times, his senior and second senior brothers offer guidance, though their help is not particularly useful. Occasionally, his third senior brother visits the training hall, but more often than not, it's just to nag. 2 weeks pass, and Baek Lee-hoo arrives to explain the mantras and outer moves. The sword techniques, at least, seem to be coming together well, almost as if he has trained for a long time. The only missing piece is inner energy, which would make everything complete. Watching closely, Baek Lee-hoo considers the potential of this young disciple, believing that, if given time, they might be able to master it all. 2 years have passed since our guy joined the Murim Alliance. The world outside remains the same, but for him, everything has changed. Unlike his past life, where he looked for ways to avoid hard work, this time, he puts in more effort than anyone else. He spends his days training alone, pushing his body beyond its limits. His physique has transformed, stronger muscles, greater inner energy, and a sharper focus than before. Lately, he has noticed something unusual. His senior brother and even the dead senior brother seem more cautious than before. As he walks away, he thinks about the second senior brother as well, lost in thought. However, he is not alone. Yun catches on quickly, calling out his name while standing with her hands on her waist. She looks up at him with a frown, commenting on how he has grown taller again. She complains that the height difference between them is getting too big, and she asks him to stop growing. He laughs and places a hand on his head, thinking that height is not something he can control. Trying to reassure her, he tells her that if she eats well, she will grow taller soon. She accepts the idea and then playfully puts a finger on his nose, making a demand. Until she grows taller, he is not allowed to grow anymore. When he doesn't respond, she questions him, and he simply agrees. Satisfied, she turns around and walks away, declaring that she will catch up to his height soon. He sighs, scratching his head. Even though he tries to keep his distance because of Madam and third senior brother, she keeps appearing out of nowhere. It is not easy. As he watches her leave, he thinks about what will happen to her in the future. He knows what awaits her, and he must find a way to change things. It might alter the future, but he will worry about that when the time comes. That night, as he sits alone in his room, he focuses on meditating, trying to circulate his inner energy. But suddenly, a sharp pain shoots through his head. He clenches his jaw and grunts, confused by the sudden headache. As he closes his eyes, an image forms in his mind, the demon lord from his past life. The dark figure turns and looks at him directly. The pain intensifies, and he struggles against it. His eyes snap open, and everything disappears. He finds himself back in his room, panting and covered in sweat. He wonders what just happened. Why is he feeling this pain? What is wrong with him? He takes a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Pushing aside his confusion, he decides to continue meditating. He carefully moves his inner energy through specific points, making sure nothing is out of place. This time, everything seems fine. He lets out a breath of relief, grateful that the strange pain is gone. Standing up, he pours himself some water and takes a long drink. We're introduced to our guy, who finds himself speaking words he has never heard before. He starts with Kionsu Ilgi Hap, Dukwon Gang, but then suddenly stops. Something isn't right. He frowns and questions himself, wondering why this mantra sounds unfamiliar. It doesn't belong to the Thunder Spirit Sword technique, nor does it come from the Celestial Sword Art manner. Then, without realizing it, he continues, Huntian Mile Hongung. His body stiffens. That name, it's too familiar. His mind races as he repeats it again. And that's when it hits him. This is no ordinary technique. It's the Honshin demonic art. His eyes widen in disbelief. How could he possibly know the ultimate demonic art of Hont Shinma? His thoughts spiral, and he falls to the ground, gripping his head. This can't be real. Not only does the mantra come to him effortlessly, but even the martial arts movements are flooding his mind. He places a hand on his forehead and groans. Is he losing his mind? He shakes his head, trying to clear his thoughts. No, something about this isn't right. Lying on the bed, he stares at the ceiling, his mind replaying the past. He recalls the moment when the demon cult attacked. It all started in Gansu province when he turned 18. That was when the chaos began. The cult unleashed a ruthless bloodstorm, advancing eastward without mercy. Rumors spread like wildfire. People whispered about the Kunlun sect drowning in blood, with dozens of disciples losing their lives. The memory sends chills down his spine. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, a pigeon soars through the sky, carrying an urgent message. It reaches Jagal, the Murim Alliance intelligence chief. The note is carefully removed from the pigeon's leg, and his eyes scan the words quickly. His expression darkens. This is bad. The demon cult is on the move. Stepping out of the room, he clenches his jaw. A bloodstorm is coming. Soon after, he sits across from Baek Lee-hoo, and the situation becomes even more pressing. The leader of the alliance listens carefully before asking for his opinion. The demon cult has appeared, and the question now is, what should be done? Without hesitation, Jae-gal suggests an immediate response. Their enemies number around 1,000 at most. The best move is to send the demon suppressor squad before they gain more strength. The decision is made. The leader agrees. Orders are given, and the chief general is tasked with dispatching the martial arts squad. Without wasting time, the Murim Alliance sends over 500 warriors, including the elders, leading forces from the 8th squad and the 5 tiger squads. As they charge forward, everyone believes that the disturbance caused by the demon cult would soon subside. The whole family gathers around the table, and one of the senior brothers raises his cup of tea while bringing up the issue in Sharangsy. He says it should be resolved soon since their father has already sent a support team. Everyone listens, but our guy has different thoughts. He remembers how many in the Murim Alliance had believed the same thing in the past, yet things didn't go as expected. After a brief pause, our guy finally speaks, mentioning that he just wants to bring something up, just in case. He points out that if the demon cult isn't just made up of remnants, the support team might be in danger. However, instead of responding seriously, the others simply stare at him. Then Yang laughs, brushing off the concern. He reassures everyone that the Sword Guardians and the Beiyong unit will handle everything. Another voice chimes in, agreeing with Yang. The third junior brother insists that there is nothing to worry about since the Jongnam sect and the Manhwa sect will also send support. However, our guy knows that isn't true. He keeps his thoughts to himself, realizing that these two sects won't send any help, which will only lead to greater losses for the Murim Alliance. Looking down, he feels frustrated, knowing that even if he speaks, no one will believe him. Yang continues, pointing out that if the enemy were really strong, they wouldn't have remained quiet for so long. He turns to the senior brother beside him, seeking agreement, and as expected, the response is in his favor. Suddenly, their mother interrupts the conversation. She dismisses them, saying they know nothing since they have only lived in the countryside. Without giving them a chance to argue, she tells them to rest if they're done eating. Our guy responds respectfully, acknowledging her words before getting up. As he walks away, Yun calls out to him. He pauses for a moment, but instead of feeling comforted, his mind is filled with unsettling thoughts. He finds her terrifying, someone who would sell her daughter for wealth and status. Crossing his arms, he thinks about this, but knows better than to say it aloud. He turns to her and responds in a way that suggests he isn't afraid. However, she doesn't seem convinced. Placing her hands on her waist, she wonders why their mother can't just leave him alone. He tells her she should understand now, so there's no need to dwell on it. As he turns away to leave, she tries to reassure him not to worry too much. In another scene, our guy sits alone, lost in thought. He wonders if he should meet his master. The idea lingers in his mind, but he doesn't know what to say. He imagines telling him the truth, that 10 years ago, he carried him on his back while fleeing, only for the master to lose his life. And now, 10 years later, he has somehow returned. The thought of this makes him shake his head. He knows how ridiculous it sounds. If he were to say it out loud, his master would probably laugh and assume he had been consumed by demonic possession. Thinking about this only makes things more confusing. Would his master believe him if he simply said all is well? He isn't sure. Instead of overthinking it, he decides to meet him first and figure it out from there. In the last scene, we saw our guy making his way to Gentian Hall, hoping to meet with the leader. However, before he could enter, the guard stopped him at the gate. One of them asked what brought him there, and he explained that he had something to tell the master. Unfortunately, he was told that the master was in a meeting and couldn't see him at the moment. Despite that, he requested that the leader be informed of his visit. The guard agreed, and as he turned away, thoughts filled his mind. Was it truly impossible to change the situation? Even though he wanted answers, all he could do was wait. Days passed, and finally, after 5 days, Beckley who came to see him. As the two of them sat facing each other, the master spoke first, pointing out that our guy had said he would come, yet he was late. There was a short response before the master moved on, asking why he had come. Looking down, our guy couldn't ignore the fact that 5 days had already passed. No matter what he said now, it wouldn't change anything. However, instead of bringing up his true reason, he mentioned that he had some questions about martial arts and wanted to discuss them with the master. Beckley who was interested and told him to go ahead. That day, what started as an excuse turned into something beneficial. The discussion about martial arts lasted 4 hours, and by the end of it, our guy gained insights that had previously eluded him. Now, on August 8th, he sits in his room, focusing on his inner energy. Suddenly, pain shoots through his head. Holding it tightly, he lets out a soft moan. Another headache. But this time, something strange happens. A vision appears before him, as if it were a memory. In this vision, a man is seen speaking to the demon lord. The words exchanged between them are serious. The first man questions if the demon lord is truly planning to ignore him, to which the demon lord responds that he has never ignored the cult leader. However, if that were the case, the cult leader demands to know why the attack on the Murim alliance has been halted. The demon lord calmly explains that it is simply not the right time. Frustrated, the cult leader presses further, wanting to know when exactly the right time will be. The demon lord then reveals that it will happen when the grand cult leader awakens. The vision suddenly becomes blurry, and our guy is pulled back into reality. Placing a hand on his forehead, he struggles to understand what just happened. Cult leader? Is he somehow sharing memories with Hans Shinma? And if that is the case, then the person in the vision must have been the heavenly demon, the leader of the demon cult. But the most shocking part is the mention of a grand cult leader. Who in the world is that? He recalls that, in the past, no one ever spoke about such a figure. If this is true, then does that mean the attack on the Murim alliance happened before this so-called leader had even awakened? Meanwhile, at another location, a serious discussion is taking place. The 9 great sects and 5 great noble families are gathered around a table. Beckley, who is clearly frustrated, his voice breaking the silence as he questions why everyone is so quiet. In a sudden burst of anger, he slams his hand on the table, demanding a response. In the Grand Hall of the Murim Alliance, a tense meeting takes place. The deputy leader turns to Beckley and states that it seems the leader believed the support team and the Chang'an branch's forces would be enough to handle the demon cult. However, the leader is not satisfied with this response. He questions if that is truly an explanation, pointing out that if that were the case, then why would they have asked the Manhwa sect and the Jeonnam sect for support? The discussion quickly becomes heated. One of the men sighs, admitting that while it is unfortunate that the warriors lost their lives, the Manhwa sect cannot be blamed for this. Another voice agrees, and soon, different opinions fill the room. Suddenly, Elder Wi slams his hand on the table, his frustration boiling over. He declares that they are all going too far. One of the men calls out to the leader, urging him to activate the leader's command. This command was created to strengthen the leader's authority during times of crisis, and once activated, no one, not even the 9 great sects or the 5 great noble families, can disobey his orders. At this, the deputy leader rises from his seat, slamming his own hand on the table. He argues that this is nonsense, insisting that although the loss of warriors is regrettable, the alliance itself is not in crisis. Elder Wi immediately challenges him, demanding to know how many more must die before it can be considered a crisis. The room remains divided. Some grow tired of the elders always finding fault with the leader's words, while others agree with Elder Wi. Amid the tension, an older man with white hair speaks up, questioning whether words alone will be enough to resolve the situation. Beckley, who strokes his beard, deep in thought. He acknowledges that this was bound to happen eventually, and if they do not resolve the issue now, the chaos will only grow. Elder Wi turns to him, urging him to make a decision, while the deputy leader insists that this is not the kind of situation where the leader's command should be activated. Finally, Baek Lee-hoo speaks. He announces that he will not activate the command immediately, but if the situation becomes more urgent, he will have no choice. The deputy leader reluctantly sits down, accepting the decision with a huff. The leader then exchanges a knowing glance with Elder Wi, a slight smirk forming on his lips. At this moment, the story shifts to a past conversation between Baek Lee-hoo and Elder Wi. Before the meeting, the leader had instructed Elder Wi to propose the leader's command during the gathering. Elder Wi had hesitated, warning that the 9 great sects and the 5 great noble families would strongly oppose it. However, Baek Lee-hoo had assured him that this was exactly the point. By bringing up the issue, they would be forced to consider his words more carefully. Elder Wi had widened his eyes in realization, then nodded in understanding. Back in the present, the leader instructs the chief general to stay behind after the meeting. Later that night, Baek Lee-hoo is in conversation with one of his sons. Upon hearing the report, he is surprised and repeats the name in disbelief. Hwan had said that. His son confirms it, leaving the leader to ponder the situation even further. Previously, Hyuk shares an important detail with Baek Lee-hoo, mentioning how our guy had warned that if the demon cult was more than just remnants, the support team would be in danger. As Baek Lee-hoo strokes his beard, he realizes that Hwan had thought about this in advance. He regrets not listening back then, but quickly acknowledges that even if he had, he would have dismissed it as nothing more than childish arrogance. A thought crosses his mind, could Hwan have come to him about this as well? However, when they met after that, the conversation had only been about martial arts. It takes him a moment, but he finally realizes that their meeting happened 5 days later. Could it be that Hwan had used martial arts as an excuse to bring up the real issue? Turning to Hyuk, Baek Lee-hoo acknowledges that Hwan is an incredible kid and admits that there is much he does not know about him. However, he instructs his son not to share this information with anyone. If the elders find out, they will use it against them. Hyuk bows in understanding but internally regrets speaking about it before Hwan could. Time passes, and winter arrives. The conflict in Sanshu does not escalate further, just as expected. Meanwhile, Hwan focuses solely on his training, using this period to grow stronger. One day, while outside, Young excitedly runs toward him, urging him to come and watch the martial arts tournament. Hwan smiles and agrees, joining him as they head toward the event. The final Dragon Ascension tournament of the year has begun. The Murim Alliance has taken a special interest in this event, hoping to reignite the fighting spirit of warriors before the looming battle with the demon cult. At the tournament, Young watches the fights with a thoughtful expression, realizing that securing the position of division leader will not be easy. Hwan, on the other hand, observes the ongoing battle and evaluates his third senior brother's skills, noting that his level falls somewhere between that of a squad leader and a division leader. Being the disciple of the leader and a direct descendant of the sect leader, his senior brother had automatically received the rank of squad leader. Nevertheless, Hwan has already decided that he will participate in the tournament next year. However, he is troubled by the thought that something significant will happen at next year's tournament. Before he can dwell on it further, Wig Hyong approaches, smiling as he acknowledges their presence. He greets the 2 disciples of the leader, making sure to point out their attendance. Young responds warmly, mentioning how long it has been since they last met. Wig Hyong takes a moment to observe him, noting that he has grown into a young man. Then, shifting his attention to Hwan, he comments on how much he has grown since they last saw each other. Hwan, keeping his expression neutral, remarks that even someone with no remarkable background can grow over time. Wig Hyong smirks, commenting on how Hwan's personality remains as sharp as ever. However, Hwan only responds that a person's nature does not change. This exchange irritates Wig Hyong, who warns that Hwan's arrogance will not last forever. As the conversation unfolds, the tournament reaches its conclusion, and a winner is declared. Hwan watches closely, unsurprised by the outcome. The victor, Chu Gang, is a disciple from Nahyongbo, a mid-tier sect. This name stirs memories, as Hwan recalls how, during his final mission, he had entrusted his severely injured master to this very individual. The thought lingers, what became of his master? Did he recover well? Once again, Wig Hyong interrupts his thoughts, making a comment about how those without backgrounds have become quite bold. However, instead of engaging further, Hwan simply turns away. He informs Yang that he will return to Cheonhwawan. Yang nods, deciding to stay and watch a bit longer. As Hwan walks away, Wig Hyong calls out, issuing a challenge. He instructs him to come to the practice ground behind Jeongmujeon at the start of the U hour if he is not afraid. Without responding, Hwan continues walking. Reflecting on the situation, he realizes that this provocation did not happen in his previous life. Even now, Wig Hyong proves to be troublesome. However, recalling what had happened earlier with Yun, he recognizes that he must face this situation. If he does not put an end to this bad connection now, even bigger problems will arise in the future. If you're eager for the next chapter, drop a comment expressing your interest in a part 2. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. Until next time, ciao.